example, I would love to give you 10-15 minutes back so you can continue the chit chat. And I know usually we all don't get time to do that. So I will try to do that. For the next 30 minutes, if you can just focus, just listen, and I assure you, there will be value at the end of these 30 minutes. Can we all do that?
Yes, sir.
Thank you so much. So let me start by introducing myself. My name is Kapil Gupta. I run an organization called as Solh Wellness. And we are in the business of revamping mental wellness in schools and educational institutes. And when I say revamping mental wellness in schools and educational institutes, I am not just talking about students. By the way, I am not just talking about teachers either. I am not just talking about non-teaching staff in schools. I am also talking about what many times becomes the fundamental reason of mental illness issues in schools, which is the parents. And we all realize that, right? So I will focus on the causes of where it comes from. I will talk about what is it that we all can do individually as well as collectively in terms of helping with mental wellness for everyone. So really, let me first start by asking you, what are the basic mental wellness challenges that we all see in our lives or in our students' lives? Can we have some examples? Sir earlier talked about the fact that India has the highest number of suicide attempts by students, which is concerning, right? Which is gravely concerning. Sir might also have talked about the fact that there is a huge problem with number of students who follow this practice of absenteeism. Absenteeism means they are overly stressed, so they just go through the motions. They have no interest, nothing, they just go through the motions. So let me ask, what are the fundamental challenges in terms of mental wellness that you all see in yourself as well as in your students? Can I have some examples? Anyone? I understand mental wellness is probably one of the toughest things to talk about. Yes, sir.
Peer pressure is one thing.
Peer pressure. In students,
Both ways.
specifically as they reach adolescence, incredibly large. Yes, sir. Comparison. So peer pressure in some ways. Or trying to live up to the expectation of other people. Any other example? Time management. So the fact that there is so much to do. We all always have a friend who wants us to go out and party, and we always have a teacher who wants us to go home and do our assignment. And then we have the parent who wants us to eat, to eat or die. We have somebody else who wants us to do something else and something else and something else. There is always paucity of time. What else? Parents' expectations, not just teachers' expectations. Teachers' expectations are still manageable. They are about just getting good marks, good grades. But parents' expectations, which are about everything in life. What else? Sorry? Social media. The amount of time that is spent on screens. And the time spent on screens till a few years back used to be social media. Now it's no longer social media. I was just talking to sir and I was saying one of the fundamental changes that I see now is every celebrity in our country currently is doing two things. या तो वो पान मसाला बेच रहा है या वो जुआ बेच रहा है. Right? Look at anybody. Look at the entire concept of advertisement in this country done by celebrities. Either they are selling an MPL, a Dream 11, some other gambling platform, or they are selling a product which is addiction. Some pan masala. We all know nobody is talking about Vimadka Ilaichi. We all know nobody is talking about something sweetener, freshener. We all know we are talking about tobacco. We are talking about pan masala. We are talking about addictive products, and that's a huge problem. What else? What other problems do we see? What other problems do we see? Not appreciated in spite of doing so much. Absolutely. What else? Anyone else? Inferiority complex. Anybody else? The language barrier. In what sense? Sure. So the language barrier, actually let me not just say the language barrier, let me say a classroom is a composition of people that comes from all different backgrounds, from all different intellectual levels, from all different expectations and from all different skill sets. The ability, and I guess this is not just a problem from a mental wellness of students, this probably for me becomes a bigger reason of mental wellness challenges for teachers. The fact that you have to go into a classroom and manage this student who probably is not as interested in your subject, doesn't have the right skill set, doesn't have the language, doesn't have the capability or everything else required for it, and then this student. So either there would be a student who wouldn't get value, or there will be a student who will say, well, it didn't that much to me. What else? What is interesting is we talked about everything that the students face, but yet we did not talk about mental wellness of teachers. So I want to hear from you about mental wellness of teachers. Where do you see struggles in that? Sorry, ma'am? So, let me say, when I ask you about mental wellness of teachers, I am not asking you to tell mental wellness of you. I want you to talk about what you heard in the chit chatter and in the staff room about mental wellness of other teachers. Now, perfect. So, mental wellness of teachers. What are the kind of challenges you face? Right? Deadlines? Sorry? Yeah, but it causes challenges. It causes higher levels of stress. Impractical. Okay. The keyword is not deadlines. The keyword is impractical deadlines. Okay. Fair enough. What else? Let me ask. How much pressure has going hybrid added to your lives? So the question is, how much pressure has the fact that you have to be proficient in online, be available 24/7 to unreasonable parents, and I'm not parent myself as well, being available for unreasonable parents 24/7. The fact that you sometimes need to go out and do assignments at night, then the school system organizes 2-day workshops for you. Nothing against the fact that there is just so much more to do. Versus if you look at even pre-COVID, even 5 years back, life used to be much easier, right? Specifically for teachers. I remember when COVID started and a little bit after COVID, when many parents were talking about the fact that there should be reduced fees, that the teachers did not have to do much and everything. And I remember going to many of the parents and many of the organizations and saying, teachers probably had to do 2x or 3x of work. I remember my daughter. That's exactly what I'm saying. That's exactly what I'm saying. The fact that we all had to do assignments. I remember my daughter at that time had just entered college, and she used to do her classes lying down with one eye open like this and a computer screen like this, and I'm absolutely 24/7 availability for parents. Anyway. So we all realize and understand and agree the fundamental challenges of mental wellness. What is the solution? Anyone? What is the solution to the increasing amount of mental wellness issues amongst the students as well as the teachers. Anyone? Communication should be there. Okay. What else? Motivation should be there. Okay. What else? Sorry? Your friend said vacation. Ma'am's friend said vacation. And ma'am would want to accompany their friend. Okay, let's get back. What else? Practice meditation. What else? More money. Of course, that always helps. Appreciation or money. Okay, so appreciation, more money. What else? What else? This is the question that I wrestled with for a very long time in 2020 to 2022. So, let me start with talking about how I got into this mental wellness journey or this mental wellness game. Back in 2020, when the first COVID lockdown happened, the day before the first lockdown, I put what was supposed to be a funny, sarcastic post addressed to our Prime Minister saying, I hope Modi ji has kept enough money in the budget for suicide prevention and depression. Trust me, it had no meaning. It was supposed to be a funny, sarcastic post. But that one singular post where I was talking about, I hope Modi ji has kept enough money in the budget for suicide prevention and depression, led to a whole bunch of conversations that people had to do. And I started thinking about this area, and I realized what a terrible mess we are in. I still maintain mental wellness is probably a much larger pandemic than COVID could ever be. We all are seeing impacts of it every day. And I am not talking about the impact of it in terms of number of students committing or trying to commit suicide. I am not talking about the number of teachers going into depression or entering into high stress situation. I am not talking about the increased amount of diseases and disorders. Yes, they are all fundamental problems. They have all significantly increased. What I am talking about, the small cases of wellness and distress. Almost everybody here does not really suffer from a mental wellness disease or a disorder. But I can 100% bet, including probably sir, everybody in this room suffers from mental wellness distress, suffers from mental wellness issues. If I was to ask you, and actually let me ask you, if I gave you better mental health, please focus, this is important. If I give you better mental health, through whatever, assuming I have the power, what kind of a change can I cause in your productivity and efficiency on a daily basis? Anyone? If I give you better mental health, and better mental health for me is very simple. I give you more happiness and I give you more peace of mind. I reduce the amount of sadness that you have, I reduce the amount of loneliness that you have, and I significantly reduce the amount of stress that you have. Assuming I am able to do that, what sort of efficiency, productivity change can I expect in you? Anyone? How much? Pick a number. Double. It can become double. How many people think it will definitely be more than 50%? More than 50%. So nearly half of the teachers in this room think that if they are given better mental wellness capability, their productivity will increase more than 50%. Is there anything else in your life that can do that? Sorry? Your health issues in a significant amount of manner are actually caused by your mental health. You are saying your mental health is impacted by your health issue. I'm saying that reverse is significantly true. Your health issues are significantly caused by your mental health. Most of the baggage that you face, most of the stress related, blood pressure related, diabetes related, and other things that you face, they are all actually very significantly compounded by your mental health. Now, you said 50%. How about your students? If I was to provide a capability for your students who have better mental health, what would it be for them? 50% more? Much more? Probably exponentially larger. So the question is, why do we not focus on that? Anyone? You are saying with better mental health, you will be at least 50% more productive. And you are saying with better mental health, your students will be multiple times more productive. The question is, why do we not focus on that? Lack of time, okay? But we figure out time if we need to, right? What else? That's the problem. We don't have the know-how of what to do about it. If we knew that a WhatsApp could do XYZ, wouldn't we have invested in making WhatsApp 20 years back? We would have, right? Or think about any technological advancement. So the challenge that we fundamentally face is we don't have the know-how on how to impact mental wellness across the board. Whether it is for teachers, whether it is for students, or whether it is for somebody else. We don't know how to impact mental health. And I will spend the next 10 to 15 minutes to talk to you about how to significantly impact mental health. And I'm not going to give you some jnana. Okay, I'm not going to give you some breathing lessons on how to do pranayama. I'm not going to talk about how to do meditation. I'm not going to talk about how yoga can cure everything in life. All of those may or may not be true. I will give you practical aspects of what we have created and how we are able to significantly impact mental wellness wherever we go. The first fundamental issue that we see is there is no conversation about mental health. Everybody suffers from it, in their own corner. Everybody suffers from it. We can even see people suffering from it, but they don't talk about it. Why do they not talk about it? Because it cannot be measured. Which means, if I was to go to someone and say, I couldn't complete this because I was overly stressed, the first question that person may ask is, why तेरी जिंदगी में किस चीज का stress है? You are well married, you have a kid, you have a reasonably good life, you come to school, you have a 6-hour job that you do. What stress do you have? The problem is everybody's mental health, everybody's approach to their life is different. So first thing that we did was we made mental wellness measurable. And how did we do that? I think some of you would have seen the capability that I'm talking about. I have a capability that I can literally, and I'm not saying figuratively, I'm saying literally, I can install a small device outside of your school or at your school gate or at the front reception of your school. Every student or teacher coming in or going out can measure their stress. As simple as that. You come, you stand in front of it, and it measures your stress. So as simple as that.
So this is accurate.
This is 80 to 90% accurate. Can we all just listen to this? Because it is extremely important and fundamentally transforming for everyone. When people ask me, how do we make sure it is accurate?
At the end, you will see your identity. Be sure this is the right thing.
Okay, perfect. That's a wonderful question. Number one, the capability that we have is artificial intelligence convoluted neural network based. Okay, it has been developed with a lot of research globally. It has a 80 to 90% accuracy rate. What is more important is because it is placed somewhere and you use it you can almost use it twice a day, coming in and going out. The fact that you use it repeatedly, the accuracy no longer remains 80 to 90%. It actually multiplies every time you use it. So the accuracy essentially becomes 95, 97, 98% at certain level because you use it on a regular, ongoing basis. The fundamental usability of it is, assume there is a student and the student is in a reasonably moderate. Everybody has moderate stress, right? Nobody has low stress. Everybody has moderate stress. Assuming the student has a moderate amount of stress, is at level 5 or level 6 in terms of stress. And for the last 4 days, the student has a stress level of 8 or 9. You know something is wrong. You know something has happened. Whether it happened in their personal life, whether it happened in their school life, whether it happened with a friend, or whether there was something that they just can't talk about. When we all know cases of, all sorts of bullying, all sorts of, challenges in adolescence age, all sorts of sexual assault, we all know everything like that happens. If a student was at level 5 or 6, and for the last 3 or 4 days is coming at level 8 or 9, you know something is wrong. This is the kind of power that I'm talking about. The student first of all knows something is wrong. By the way, while Sir talked about suicide, there is no progression of suicide that says somebody was fine and somebody is committing suicide. It doesn't work like that. Suicide decisions, even depression for that matter, it does not happen in a day. It is not an incidental stress-based activity. It happens over a very extended, large period of time. The important thing is, can you, number one, identify, number two, intervene. While this person, the first time that they got more stressed or got more lonely or got more sad, to this time that they decided or the life worked such that they are about to enter depression or such that they are about to think about suicide, can you identify something in this line and take them back? That's the game. So the first capability is this ability to identify. And while I'm saying students, take the same example, the same exact situation for teachers. Take the same example and exactly same situation for everybody in your life. If they simply start measuring, looking at their stress level through some reliable capability on a daily basis, and they are able to identify, how valuable would it be? So that's the first capability I want to talk about, and I think some of the members from my team would have gone through, would have shown you some of the stuff in terms of how you can measure. It is very simple. You just, right now what they are showing you, you still need to do a click. Otherwise, you need to go stand in front of a machine where you are already onboarded. It recognizes your face because it is built on a facial facial recognition capability. It will measure your stress level and you can go. It takes literally a total of 2 to 3 seconds. Yes, ma'am. On the basis of your facial expression. That's it. Your smile would not make a difference. So understand. So please understand this. This is important. Your smile does not necessarily.
Right now we didn't know this table.
Yes.
Out of 6, almost 4 of us got the same one.
I'll tell you why right. I'll tell you why you, in such situation, why you get similar answers. Number one, you are currently in similar positions in, the environment. Number two, the lighting here is not very appropriate. When you put such devices, the one aspect that you need to make sure, which is why I always talk about putting a kiosk somewhere, is the lighting and is basically ensuring you are doing this measurement in an organized, similar kind of a space every day. Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, that is because of the lighting. So when you are doing lighting, you are actually holding the device like this, which means all of this lighting that you see, it gets reflected and it adds to the stress reading on the environment, on the lamp. It will change, which is why a kiosk, right? Which is why a kiosk or a capability where you measure your stress at the same position every day. It will. In fact, currently it doesn't show you that, but I can even tell you the age of the child by looking at the face. Reasonably accurate. This is actually one of the brilliant things about this technology. It gets people to talk, both in terms of how amazing, and second, more importantly, in terms of does this thing really work? And I get that. Man's question is, if somebody is suicidal, will their stress level show up as 10? No, not really. And it doesn't happen in a day. It will show up as 6, it will show up as 6.5, it will show up as 7, it will increase, and then you will identify one day the person will get into a more depressed or a more stressful or a suicidal state. So it's a gradual increment that would happen. Okay, let me move forward from here. Okay, we talked about Streffie, which is what we call as this. This is a stress selfie video. Okay, the technology is built on an artificial intelligence network, and it will be able to measure your stress level. Number 2, what is the other fundamental problem that students face these days? Screen addiction. Right? Behavioral addiction. What do you do about it? Anybody? I am sure some of you go through that as well. I am sure some of you have family members that go through that. What do you do about it? If it is a child, you give them some other activity, does it work? Or a small bit of time. Okay, what else? And when you are saying that, you are actually talking about somebody who is not addicted, who is just doing more of something, not addicted. I'm saying there is a huge amount of screen addiction that is very prevalent right now. Anything that you can do about it? Nothing? So we created a program that we call as Prudence Life. Okay? We call it as Prudence Life. And it is a de-addiction program. Almost like a rehab on your mobile. It's a program that is meant for both substance use as well as for behavioral de-addiction. It is a program that has a 3-month program for mild and moderate addictions and a 6-month program for aggressive addiction. It has an English version and it has a Hindi version. The program was first developed in the North American market, which means US and Canada. It has been used by over 12,000 people. It has been clinically tested and reviewed. So clinically tested and peer reviewed means it is ready for use by anybody. It has an extremely good effective rate of success. So the second thing, ma'am, I'll actually tell you people's usage habits in that. That's actually a wonderful question. So, most people, when they use a tab to look at their face, they use it like this. When they look at the phone, use the phone, they use it like this. So, ma'am, आप दोबारा से try कर लीजिए. What I've used it. I've developed the technology. If you use it like this, the light intervention may be lesser. When you use a tab, you usually have these light sources as interference that comes into the equation. So, let me get back. I get back to these questions also. So, number 1, we talked about Streffie, which is a stress monitoring capability that can almost be put at the front desk of the reception of the school, and it can be used by anybody on a mobile app. You all would have received this QR code, which is placed on some of the tables. This actually will take you to a Prudence School, a Ashok version of our app. So this portion is safe and secure for you, where you will be able to measure it for yourself or measure it for any of your students or however on a regular basis. Number two, the de-addiction program. The capability for anybody to get support for their addiction, whether it is a behavior addiction, which means screen, which means reels, which means gaming, which means gambling, which in some cases also means shopping and food and eating disorders and everything else. And there is a specific part of the program which is applicable for all sorts of substance use addiction. So alcohol, cigarettes, tobacco, drugs, opioids, and anything else. The third thing that we provide is a comprehensive mental wellness capability. Now, what does the comprehensive mental wellness capability mean? It essentially means REACH. So the program that we run is called as REACH. REACH means resilience for each and everyone. The fundamental aspect of improving mental wellness amongst people is to increase their resilience. It is not to just offer them something that they can do right now. That's a distraction. That's a distraction. That may work for the next 5 minutes, but then it won't. The fundamental aspect of improving people's mental health is to provide capabilities to increase their resilience. And the REACH program essentially is increasing resilience for each. Each in that sense means to evaluate, which is the E, to act, which is the A, to connect, which is the C, and to heal, which is the H. So evaluation would happen through tools like Streffie. It will also happen through a whole bunch of psychometric evaluation and assessment tests that we have on the platform. And it will happen through an AI-driven dashboard that we also provide along with that. And will happen through a whole bunch of capabilities that we have enabled on the program or enabled on the platform. It will give you meditation lessons, it will give you yoga lessons, it will give you origami lessons, it will give you whatever piques your interest. So all of these are customized based on your problem area. So somebody may have a sleep-related issue, it will give them programs that will help them with sleep. Somebody may have a stress-related issue or an anxiety or a panic attack-related issue, it will give them solutions that will be more focused on that. C is connect. Now, one aspect. Does the school have a counselor? I'm sure the school has a counselor. Yes. Is the counselor? Yes. Okay. Now, it is mandatory, right? It is compulsory for every school to have a counselor. However, let me ask a question. In schools, and I'm specifically talking schools, do students really get support? Yes. How many of them come for support? Right. Now, the problem is, fundamentally, counseling by itself is something that only works for 2 to 4% of people. Because for somebody to go through counseling, for you to identify them as somebody that requires counseling, they will need to go beyond distress. They will need to enter this area of disorder or disease. That's how you would identify fundamentally, right? For a student themselves to also come, they will need to be in that space because that's the capability we have created. What we are trying to do is to complement that with our technology. What does the technology do? It puts the power in everybody's hand, not just the ones with disorder and disease. It puts the power in everybody's hands. Every student, every teacher, and more importantly, also every parent. It puts the power in everybody's hand to get mental wellness support anytime in their own mode, in their own capability, the way it works for them. And the fact that it is available to them in the form of a mobile app platform or in the form of a non-intrusive capability where they don't need to do a human interaction to get that support, it actually becomes much more pervasive. I can assure you, if you put something like a Streffie outside of the school, our current research says at least 10% of students or teachers will end up using it. At least 10% will end up using it.
So 90% will use, but how effective is it? How can we understand?
So, ma'am, its effectiveness is on its ongoing use. So, what the Streffie tool does is three things. Number one, it gives everybody a measure of their own stress level. Number two, it gives the organization as a whole visibility into stress level of individual constituent members. And both of these mean you can now generate actionable insights from these. Number three, and probably as effective as these two, it gives a capability for the conversations of mental health to be normalized. So the fact that people are measuring their stress level on a regular basis, they now have a lot more empathy for people who are undergoing stress. The fact that they measure it on a regular basis means the conversation around stress, the conversation around disorder, the conversation around distress is much more effective in that particular environment. So in these three manners, from an individual monitoring perspective, from an organizational monitoring perspective, both of which can bring to actionable results, and the fact that it helps normalize conversations, it becomes a great tool. Yes, ma'am.
It is no regular basis when you use it. You have daily task on this just shake
Okay. So the ma'am's question is, if we monitor and measure our stress on a daily basis, wouldn't it make us more stressed? Ma'am, पहले 2 दिन, पहले 3 दिन, you may be right. But then it becomes part of your daily routine, or part of your ongoing routine, or part of your life. So it actually will become an insight that you will get into life. And you will see, I am more stressed today because while I was coming, I saw an accident on the road. I am more stressed today because I woke up a little late. I am more stressed today because I had this argument with my husband or my wife, with my mother or my father or whoever else. Or I am more stressed today because of whatever else. As you identify those, you will now start being way more proactively available for those situations, available to handle them, available to have the resilience to take care of. And that's really the way. Given this conversation about everybody needs to go to a counselor and a therapist and get mental health support, that's a very Western concept. It doesn't really work. First of all, none of us have the time.
But what are the solutions you are giving providing us? Because all this is
Everything is available. That's
can we connect with other people and
yes, you can. There are nearly 45 support groups on the platform. 45 support groups. Ranging from stress, which is our largest support group with more than 3,500 members, anxiety and a depression support group, both of whom, I think anxiety has 1,200, depression has 1,100, and then different other forms of support groups. You can connect with people on support groups. You can individually connect with specific people that you want as well. There is I was just going to get there. There is a marketplace with nearly 500 professionals. 250 of those professionals are clinical professionals, which means psychiatrists, clinical psychologists, and 250 of those are allied therapists, yoga, art, meditation, music, dance, equine therapy and whatever, dog therapy and this, that and that. Everything. The fundamental aspect that we are trying to resolve, or that we have resolved, is that everybody's mental health works uniquely in a differentiated, individualized manner. You all need to get mental wellness support. You and the students, that you work with. You all need to get mental wellness support, which is customized, individualized, personalized, specifically for you.
So all the people who are doing so, they are doing it for a social cause or this is like
Now we are, so our tagline essentially is Soul Wellness, where doing good is good business. So I am not an NGO. However, so my background is I used to run a digital marketing agency. I've done that for nearly 20 years of my life. Okay, my agency used to do really well. Okay, I kind of put that on the side, on a back burner to start this. Again, I'm not suggesting I'm a social entrepreneur or I'm doing it for free. I am not. Okay. However, I am doing it because I think there is significant value to be provided to people. And by the way, providing that significant value will also give me some value in terms of money also. Let me not take that away. But everybody that works in Solh works because they understand the value of providing that impact. It's almost like you work as a teacher not just for salary because you think there is a contribution to be done. Right? If I ask you to work for free, you will probably say, yeah, there is impact to be made, but I can't work for free. It's really the same answer for us. So, this is the information that I wanted to share. Again, 3 things. Number 1, Streffie, stress monitoring. Something that can be used by anyone regularly. It can even be put as a kiosk at a specific place within the school, premises or wherever else. Number 2, Prudence Life, which is the de-addiction program, and it gives everybody capability for both substance use de-addiction as well as behavior de-addiction. By the way, nearly 15 crore people in our country suffer from one form of addiction or other related to substance abuse. I'm not even talking behavior. Nearly 15 crore people in our country suffer from substance use addiction. Behavior addiction will probably be another 15-20 crores. So, huge problem. Number 3, we have a platform, a capability where everybody in a unique, individualized, customized manner can get mental wellness support. It can come to them in the form of best practices. It can come to them in the form of courses and tool guides and everything. It can come to them in the form of being able to measure their mental wellness. It can come to them in the form of a whole bunch of actions that they can take to take care of their mental health. In schools, there is a significant requirement. One, because, so my fundamental belief about schools is there are 2 ways that you can leave students in school. 1, you can leave them with resilience. 2, you can leave them with trauma. We are teachers, we are kind of the custodians of what we will leave the students with, and we all need to decide. We leave them with resilience or we leave them with trauma. We can't leave them with anything else. One of these 2. Skills are important. The entire aspect of knowledge and attitude and health and everything else is important. But along with all this, the fundamental aspect for every individual, for every, specifically the younger minds, is what do you leave them with? Resilience or trauma? With that, I know I'm out of time. Thank you so much. If anybody has any questions, you can ask now, or my contact information will be available. We have a few brochures that we will leave here. You can find me online as well. My name is Kapil Gupta. If you will look on any of the social networks, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, wherever, you would be able to find me. You can also come to the Soul Wellness platform. There is a 24/7 capability that we have that we call as Help Now, Talk Now. It is meant for people to get support at that point of time. Mental wellness challenges for all of you do not happen when you are in school. It usually happens at 11 in the night when there is nobody around. When you are thinking about all that happened. This 24/7 Talk Now capability is meant for people to take support at that point of time. And the person responding from our side is always going to be a psychologist. It will never be a customer support representative responding to. It will always be a psychologist. So we take care of providing mental wellness capabilities to individuals, to associations, to organizations. And I love working with schools because I think this is where the real impact really starts. So thank you very much, everyone. You've been a wonderful audience. I know it's tough to sit as teachers and have somebody talk to you for a a long time, but you've been a wonderful audience. You listened to it patiently. I hope I was able to make an impact. Thank you. And as I said, please connect and please ask your questions whenever